This is a lesson about writing introductions to essays. You will learn about hooks, the funnel method, and thesis statements. You probably know that a hook is used to catch a fish. We also use hooks to start our essays in an interesting way. A hook attracts the reader's attention and creates interest. We do this because we want to make the reader continue reading our essay. This is something that many people don't know about McDonald's food, and it may be a good way to attract attention to an essay about the dangers of eating fast food. Another way to hook your reader is with an anecdote. Anecdotes are just short stories related to your topic. This story here about the American soccer team in the World Cup might be a way to interest your reader in an essay about sports, or about athleticism, or about American values. You can also use an interesting question as your hook. This is okay to use occasionally, but you should not use questions very often in your essays. Questions make the writer sound like he doesn't know what he's talking about, or sound like he is wasting time. Get to your point rather than asking rhetorical questions. That said, a very interesting question that attracts your reader's attention can be used as a hook. Quotations can also be used as hooks, but again there's a warning. Don't use quotes that everyone knows. They are not interesting to your reader. If you decide to use a quote, make sure it is relevant to your essay, and spend some time finding a quote that the reader may not have heard before and would enjoy reading now. You can also use a statistic to start your introduction. But again, there's a warning. Statistics can be boring, and remember the hook is supposed to be interesting enough to make your reader want to continue reading your essay. So don't use too many statistics. Don't use hard to understand statistics, and don't use common statistics that everyone knows. For all of these types of hooks, they have to be interesting or they won't be effective. A funnel is that orange thing on the right of the screen, and it is used to put oil in your car, or in your kitchen you might use it to pour liquid into a bottle. We can think of a funnel as a format for our introduction paragraph. The top of the funnel is wide. This is where we put the most general statements. If you're starting with a hook, it should be the first sentence. This is considered general because it isn't really what the essay is about. After your hook, you need to get more specific. You narrow the topic from that hook to something closer to your actual essay topic. Then finally, you end the introductory paragraph with the thesis statement. The thesis statement is specific and has a topic and a controlling idea. We'll talk more about this in just a minute. At this point, your reader should know what your essay is going to be about. Your whole introduction for a 5 or 6 paragraph essay should only be 3 to 5 sentences. If it's over 6 sentences, you're probably not writing a very organized introduction. Start with one general statement or hook, then get more specific until finally you arrive at the thesis statement, which is the most specific sentence in the introduction. Here are 4 sentences that make up an introductory paragraph. They are not in the correct order. Pause the video and write the sentences in the correct order on a piece of paper. Remember to use the funnel method and go from general to specific. Stop the video now and write the paragraph. Here is one way to write the introductory paragraph. The first two sentences are an anecdote. Then there is a general statement about high crime neighborhoods. Then there is a more specific sentence telling why this kind of crime happens. Finally, there's an argument for more police to fight crime. The last sentence is very specific, telling us where this issue is, Smallville, and we find out what is needed and why. This very specific sentence at the end of our introduction is called the thesis statement. And a thesis statement needs two things, the topic and the controlling idea. If you're missing one of these things, then your thesis statement is not going to be very good. So what is a topic? A topic is the subject or the thing that you are talking about. The controlling idea is what you want to say about the topic. It's where your argument is. This is the thing you're going to prove or show in your essay. The topic and the controlling idea should be as specific as possible. Here are some things that you want to avoid in your thesis statement. Don't announce your thesis. Don't say, I will talk about this, or this essay is about. Also, don't write a fact for a thesis statement. Your thesis should be arguable, and facts are not arguable. So your thesis might be your opinion, but it should not be an obvious or popular opinion. If most people agree with you, there's no reason to write your essay. You need to say something fresh, so choose a thesis that you will have to convince the reader of. Another thing you don't want to do is to use pronouns in your thesis. The reason for this is that you need to be specific and say what you are talking about in the thesis statement. Don't assume your reader knows what you're talking about. And finally, don't forget the two parts, the topic and the controlling idea. Let's look at some examples of good thesis statements. Take a minute to read them. The first one tells us the topic is Iceland, and the controlling idea is that it's a beautiful place to learn about a new culture. The second thesis statement has the topic eating a vegetarian diet. And the controlling idea is that it improves health and extends life. So we know what that essay is going to explain, what it's going to be about. It's going to explain how a vegetarian diet improves health and extends life. In the third thesis statement, we learn that the essay is about the American government, and that the essay will argue that the government should provide health care to all its citizens. We know this because the thesis statement has a topic and a controlling idea. Here are some thesis statements that are not good. What do you think is wrong with the first one? Well, what is the topic? we don't know because the sentence uses the pronoun it several times. What is it? Probably the student talked about the topic earlier in the introduction and then used pronouns in the thesis statement. This is correct grammar, but it is not good writing. The thesis statement must have the topic and controlling idea specifically stated. Look at the second sentence. I will give is an announcement. Remember, we don't want to announce our topic. That's elementary. What's wrong with the next thesis? It has a topic, stop smoking, and a controlling idea, because it's dangerous and a bad habit. But this is what we would call an obvious opinion. Few people think smoking is a good idea anymore. Most people are aware that it's dangerous, so this is not a good thesis statement. And finally, the last one is not a good thesis statement either, because it doesn't have a controlling idea. Important is not a controlling idea because it's too vague. Important can mean a lot of different things to different people. Also, this sentence doesn't give any context to the statement. Saving money is important for whom? Or for what purpose? We don't know because there's no controlling idea. So now you know some ways to help you write a good introduction paragraph. You can use one of the hooks like a surprising statement or an anecdote. The funnel method is a good way to organize your introduction. Each sentence should get more specific as you get into your thesis. Then remember that a good thesis statement must have two parts: the topic and controlling idea. With lots of practice, writing introductory paragraphs will get easier for you. This lesson is about writing longer essays. You've already learned about writing a 5-paragraph essay. This is a common format for students who are learning to write essays. It's often taught in American high schools. But a 5-paragraph essay is really only useful for writing a couple of pages. In college classes, students are asked to write much longer essays, so a 5-paragraph essay won't do. It's necessary to learn to write longer essays. And to do this, you need to learn to write more body paragraphs in your essay. This was an example of an argument essay, and it had 5 paragraphs with 3 body paragraphs. Because it was an argument essay, each body paragraph was a reason that supported the thesis. Let's look at how we could make this a longer essay. To make this a longer essay, we're going to need to use different types of body paragraphs. One type of body paragraph that you can use is a cause and effect paragraph. Here's an example of a cause and effect paragraph. It follows the same structure that you've learned about writing body paragraphs before. It has a topic sentence shown in green, and it has 3 supporting ideas shown in red, and then a couple of details for each of the supporting ideas. In a cause and effect paragraph, you would have 3 causes or 3 effects. This one has 3 causes. And you should already know how to write this kind of paragraph. Another type of paragraph that you could use for a body paragraph is the compare-contrast, where you would compare things or you would contrast things. Here's an example of that. In this compare-contrast paragraph, the writer is contrasting high school and college. And just like with the cause and effect paragraph, the compare-contrast paragraph would have 3 supports with details and examples, all supporting a topic sentence. Here the writer gives 3 differences in the supporting ideas, and they are shown in red. So you should start to see that these paragraph types follow the same structure that you've already learned for body paragraphs. You need a topic sentence that supports the thesis, and you should have several supporting ideas. Then you should have several details and examples that are very specific and help develop the paragraph. That same structure is used for cause-effect, compare-contrast, illustration, which is sometimes called exemplification, argument paragraphs, and classification paragraphs. These 5 types all have a topic sentence with probably 3 supporting ideas and then details and examples for each of those supporting ideas. The structure of those paragraphs will all be the same. It's just a difference of whether your support is causes, or if your support is comparisons, or if your support is examples, like you would use in illustration. So the supports are different, but the structure for those 5 types are all the same. On the right side here, we have 3 other types of body paragraphs. Description, narration, and process don't follow the exact same pattern. They're a little bit different. Description describes something, and so it doesn't usually have 3 supports. The structure of this kind of paragraph would be maybe geographical, describing a place from left to right or from top to bottom. Or it could describe a person, and if you were describing a person, you would be describing them maybe from their head to their toe. So the structure of this paragraph is a little bit different. Narration and process both use time order. In a narration, you're telling a story about something, and so you tell about the first thing, and then the second thing, and the third thing. It uses time order. Process also does that because you're telling how something happens or how it's done. And so you would tell the first step, the second step, the third step. That's a process. So those 3 types are a little bit different. But all of these types of body paragraphs can help you to write longer essays. You can use one of these types of paragraph in your argument essay to help develop your thesis statement. Let me show you how you would do this. Let's say we're outlining an argument essay. A typical 5-paragraph essay would have an outline like this. We have our thesis statement. College education in the U.S. should be free for everyone. That's our argument. And in a typical 5-paragraph essay, you would use 3 body paragraphs to support that thesis. So these are all 3 reasons that support my thesis statement for the argument essay. But if I want to write a longer essay, I can use other types of paragraphs. So let's take that first reason. Colleges should not be making a profit from students. Well, before I get to that, I might want to write a paragraph using narrative style, and I could write a narrative paragraph of background information. I might show how colleges started making a profit off of students. This background information would be helpful before I get to my first reason about colleges should not be making a profit from students. So that's one way I could add a different type of paragraph to help make my essay longer. Maybe before I make my third reason, I might want to add a paragraph comparing or contrasting. Because I'm arguing for American universities having free education for everyone, I might make a paragraph that contrasts other countries who do have free college education and who have better societies. I could show a contrast between those countries and the U.S. This would also help support my thesis, and it would add another body paragraph. So now I have 5 body paragraphs for my argument essay. I have my original 3 reasons, but I've added a narrative paragraph for background information, and I've added a comparison paragraph to show other countries and how they use free college to have a better society. All of these body paragraphs still support my thesis statement, and now I have a longer essay and it's more developed. So this is making it more academic, which is our goal. So when you write your next essay, try to go beyond the traditional 5-paragraph essay. Try having 6 or 7 paragraphs, and you'll do this by adding different types of body paragraphs. Every essay will be different, so you might not always be able to use a cause and effect paragraph or a description paragraph. So think about your topic and use the kind of paragraph that is most useful for that topic. I hope you'll work on making your essays longer and more academic. This lesson is about using sources in your writing. Take a minute and look at this body paragraph from maybe an argument essay. You can pause the video if you need time to read it. In the previous course, we learned that a body paragraph should have a topic sentence, it should have several supporting ideas, and it should have details and examples for each of the supporting ideas. This paragraph has all of that, and it uses transitions, so it's a pretty well-written body paragraph. But we're going to learn about something that will make it better, something that will make it more academic. Here's the same paragraph, only here I've added 2 quotations. These quotations are from other sources. The first one's right here, and you see that it's a detail that follows the first supporting idea in the paragraph. To use the quote, I blended it with my own words. These are my own words, and this part is the quoted part, the borrowed part. And I put quotation marks around the words to show that those are not my words. And then I have to also give credit to the source. Right here is the citation. The citation shows the author's name. This is the last name of the author that wrote these words. My other source is down here. I used it for the 3rd supporting idea. And again, the quote is blended with my own words. Here are my own words, and here's the quoted part. You might notice this is a little different. I put brackets around one word because I had to change the pronoun. I needed to change the pronoun from the original source so that the grammar made sense. If you change any words inside the quote, you have to put brackets around them. Try not to do this very often, but occasionally you'll find that you need to. And again, I have my citation with the author's last name. Anytime you borrow words or ideas from another source, you have to say where you got that from. Later we're going to learn some other ways that you can cite your sources. But for now, just make sure that you put the author's last name in parentheses at the end of the sentence that has the borrowed words. So remember from previous courses, you've learned that body paragraphs need to have these parts. They have a topic sentence, you should have 3 supporting ideas, and a couple of details or examples for each support before you have your conclusion sentence or transition sentence. This is just the basic body paragraph. And what we're doing now is we're adding in quotations. Your quotations will go here. They serve as details or examples to help support your points. One thing to remember is that we use source material to support our ideas, not to make the ideas for us. So never use a quote as your topic sentence. Your topic sentence is always going to be your point. After you make your point, then you can use a source to help support you. Here's that first sentence again that had the quote in it. I'm going to show you where this came from. This was the website where that quote came from. You see, it's the Pew Research Center. And on the website, you can see the author's name. Take a minute to see if you can find it. There it is. And that was the name that was used in the citation. This is further down the page, and here's where the sentence came from in the original source. This was the original sentence. You'll notice that I didn't use the whole sentence. I just used the parts that related to my essay. Here's the other sentence from my paragraph where I quoted something. Remember, these are my words, and this is the quoted part. Let's look at where this came from. This was the website, and look for the author's name. So remember that name, Machen, that was in our citation. And then if we looked further down the page, here's where the sentence came from. This is the original source, and this is the exact sentence in that source. And you can see that I changed it. I changed this word here. I changed the word my to his, remember? Because I needed the grammar to make sense. So take a look one more time at how I used it. Notice the last name of the author is at the end of the sentence. Here's that paragraph again with the two quotes in it. Having these quotes makes my paragraph stronger, makes it more academic, and it makes it more convincing to my reader. This is something you're going to want to start doing in your academic essays. Here's one more example. This is a body paragraph from a different essay, and again it follows an okay structure, but it's not very academic because it doesn't use sources. So we want to add in a source or two. If you want, you can pause the video and think about what kind of source you might use, what kind of quotation you might add. And here it is with the quotations added. Again, I added 2 quotations. Now that just happens to be the same. There's no rule about it. You could add a quote for all 3 supporting ideas. It really is up to the writer, and it just depends how strong your other points are. If your other points are strong, you don't need as many quotes. But if you have kind of a weak support, you probably want to use a quotation to add to that to make it stronger. So again, I blended the quote with my own words. Part of the sentence is my own words, the other part is the quotation. And again, I have the citation at the end of the sentence. This is the author's last name. And down here we have the second quote. So notice how it's nicely blended with my own words. I'm making a point, and I'm using words from another source to help support my point. And this is the author's last name. Remember, anytime you borrow words from another source, you have to give your source. You have to cite the name of the author. And we're going to look more about how you do that later. So that's just an introduction to using sources in your writing. We're going to learn more about it in this course, and then of course you'll learn a lot more about it in the next course, which is about research.